going to be making this Intarsia mouse on a leaf pattern by Judy Gale Roberts. It's a free pattern, so I'll have the link in the description box below so you can print it off if you want to make it. I picked out some monkey pod and some wood that I think is sapelli. On the pattern, the pieces are already divided up and aligned to follow the grain, so it was quick and easy to cut the groups out that correspond to the wood I wanted them to go on. I used some 3M 77 spray glue and attached them to their woods. I forgot to make the nose a different wood color, but I noticed this later and pick out some walnut for it. I am using a number 5 blade and cutting on the outside of the red line, trying to leave half of the line on the piece I want to keep. Also remember to check your blade. You can use a square, or you can use one of these nifty little blade checkers that the artisan pirate made for me. Thank you so much. And you want to make sure that your blade is perpendicular to the table. This way your pieces are cut at that 90-degree angle so that they fit together really well. So I continued on sawing away on the Hegner scroll saw. Well, here are all the pieces, but I'm really sorry this footage is blurry. I don't know what happened. Sorry. The pattern calls for a dowel for the eye, so I used a 1/4-inch drill bit to drill a hole. The hole ended up being wider on the top of the hole than on the bottom, so when I tried the dowel in, it looked pretty good, except for the very top, where it was going to be sanded down anyway. So luckily here it was going to work, but next time I need to use a drill press. Then I used mineral spirits to loosen up the glued-on pattern, and that always works really well for me. I sawed apart the leaf real quick and then put mineral spirits on that too, and the papers came off nicely. I put the whole thing on a little piece of backer and took it over to the pneumatic drum sander. Here I shaped each piece that I could using 100 grit. This takes it down pretty quickly. You can also see I have the nose with the darker wood, which is walnut. I also have the dowel in place so that it can be shaped along with the shape of the mouse. I also used my pencil along the way to mark the pieces so that I knew how far down to sand. This rough shaping step is pretty fun and makes the project start to come alive. Also, you can do this with most any sander, so don't feel like you can't shape if you don't have a pneumatic drum sander like mine. Once I had it where I liked the shape, then I took it over to the flex drum sander and I used 220 on it to smooth it and sand the entire project. You know what? I am having a blast doing this Intarsia, and it's just cute, and it's small, and it's not too difficult, and you do a lot of shaping. So this would be a perfect first Intarsia project. So I recommend everybody go get this pattern from Judy Gale Roberts and make this for your first Intarsia. And she's making it as an ornament, it looks like, but I think I'm going to make it as a standing up piece. We'll see. The next step was to hand sand all the edges of the pieces and smoothing up anything else the sander couldn't reach. I used 220 here. Now to cut out the backer. I am securing the entire project to the backer with some craft bond, then tracing it directly onto the backer and then cutting it out. Not sure what Wally is barking at, but he sure is barking away outside. I did draw a cut line inside of the trace line about 1/8 of an inch before sawing. Some of you may have noticed I skipped a step here. Usually I adhere the project to some newsprint and trace it onto the newsprint, then attach the newsprint to the backer board and then cut that out with the saw. With this being such a small project, I thought I would try it this way, and I like it. I'm also using my old, but new to me, Hawk scroll saw. And now Gibbs has joined Wally in the barkathon. Next was to add the texturing. I started with the leaves, adding the veining. I used the Wonder Wheel, making sure the motor was running at top speed, then added the fur to the mouse body and tail. What I discovered was the dowel was not a good solid dowel for the eye, so I went and bought what I could find, which was a birch dowel. Okay, I got a little dowel. It's a birch dowel, and I'm going to put it in here. So I'm going to smooth it down to be the shape I want it to be. Well, let's see if I can make a hole in it. Put the catch light right there. The dowel was great, but it was also very light in color. So I drilled the hole with my little thumb driver, then put some ebony stain on the dowel. There, that's black. When that was dry, I glued in my sharpened piece of holly. I wasn't sure how well this would work since I'm going to have to sand this holly once I cut it off. So I'm hoping for the best. While that was drying, I put a coat of Old Masters Polygel onto all of the pieces, wiping it on all the pieces and then wiping it off until it was dry to the touch. I was really disappointed in the color of the mouse and the leaf. They were very close in color. And I would have never guessed that from how they looked when I picked them out. I had even rejected a few pieces because they were so close in color. So lesson learned, test to see what the finish is gonna look like on your wood before you pick them out. I don't know. I just used my scroll saw to cut that off and forgot to film it, sorry. But I cut that little nubbin off of the holly. So I'm just gonna try to sand it without getting the, I faded off into sanding La La Land, I guess, but I was saying I was hoping to sand this holly smooth without removing the stain. Right. There. Let's see. Here, look at that. Yeah, I think that is going to work. Hey. I think I'll put it in there and I'll just mark it with the pencil so I can cut it off. Take it down a little bit. Down a little bit more. Cut it off right there. Yeah. Okay. There. Look at that. Okay. There. My lid broke on the triple thick can. It didn't just pop off. The little piece inside cracked off, but all I needed was a teeny bit to put on the eye to make it nice and glossy. So I was able to spray out a little bit, and it did get all over the place, but I was able to paint it on the eye. I stood it up and leaned it against a little piece of wood to let it dry. Then I put a verse on the back of the backer using my laser. I put Romans 10:13, which says, "For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved." There are some verses about mice and tumors and stuff, but I thought I'd stick with a salvation verse. But you can go read about the mice and tumors in 1 Samuel if you'd like. I also skipped some steps here. Instead of gluing one piece at a time to begin with, I glued the whole thing at the same time. And when that was dry, I grabbed a piece of live edge walnut from my little scrap pile and thought maybe the mouse could sit on top of it. I put a good angle on my belt sander and sanded the bottom of the leaf a bit. Checked it out and thought, yeah. So I put some Titebond glue on the flattened part. Then I also put some DAP there too, and I sprayed a little bit of the base with 2P10, which will create an instant bond with the DAP super glue. And so that DAP super glue will hold it nice and solid while the Titebond sets up slowly. And lastly, I put some Old Masters Polygel over the base and the backer and another coat, just for fun, over the mouse too. Wiping it on and then wiping it off. Well, the mouse is all finished, and I'm really bummed that these are so close in color. I tried, I even had another wood picked out, and I'm like, oh, they're too close in color. And so I picked those out, figuring they'd be different, and they're not, which is a bummer. Rats. Mice. So I recommend if you make this project, make sure your wood is a way different color, the leaf and the mouse, because it just blends together too much. And then I mounted them on this little tiny piece of walnut, which, I don't know, I think is pretty cool. A little bit different idea. So I hope everybody goes out and tries it. I've got the pattern link down below, and you can also find it on Judy's website. So thanks for joining me, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye!